Welcome back to the Sales Cadence Podcast. This is the podcast for everyone in sales, because everyone is in sales. We're all selling something. My name is Matt Sykes. I'm your host. I'm the author of the book Sales Glue and Converted. And if, like me, you're as passionate about helping people make truly epic buying decisions so that more people buy what you sell, great news. You're in the right place. Here is what ChatGPT has told me would be a great introduction to this podcast episode. Welcome back to the Sales Cadence Podcast, where we don't pretend LinkedIn is a networking platform, it's a stage. And most of you are background actors in your own story. Today we're not talking about how to get hired or how to sell. That's pedestrian. We're talking about something bigger. How to LinkedIn your way through an economic downturn, because let's be honest, it's starting to look like a bit of a shit show out there. In a world where no one's hiring and no one's buying, there's only one currency that matters: attention. And if you don't know how to cultivate a bit of tasteful narcissism, you'll stay invisible while louder, less qualified people take centre stage. Now, my guest today doesn't do fluffy advice. He understands exactly how LinkedIn really works, how ego, positioning and controlled self-obsession are the real growth hacks. If you're still playing humble and hoping the algorithm notices, you're already buried. Let's talk about how to make yourself a character in the minds of your industry. Let's talk legacy building in public. Chris Reeve, founder of Reeve Social, welcome back to the podcast, my friend.
Was that all ChatGPT, or was that some of it?
I put the bit in about the shit show. Apart from that, that was ChatGPT. Welcome back, my friend, Mr. 3-Peter. This
Thank
is
you.
the third episode that we've had you on the podcast, Chris.
Hat trick.
Look, glad to have you. We're in your beautiful house, so forgive the quality of the recording, folks. So, Chris, today's episode really is about how we navigate an economic downturn. Because let's be honest about it, it looks a little bit like we are in challenging waters, or there's certainly challenging waters ahead. Whole lot of stuff going on in the world which we don't need to talk about. But I guess most people, and I certainly see this in some of my client base and some of the conversations I've been having with potential clients, is it's starting to look a little bit difficult. Your thoughts?
Correct, absolutely. And with my area of expertise and experience around purposeful social media that creates impact, is that's the exact same thing that's happening in that world. People are doing less rather than more because they're scared. They're more scared of doing the wrong thing than being okay with testing and learning and trialing and failing forwards on social.
I've got some quick fire questions for you.
Come on.
All about social media.
How quick is quick fire?
Yeah, not one word answers. I think you're going to have to give some kind of padding on this.
Okay.
Because, it's got, obviously we're trying to help the listener. So question number one, and I'm going to come at it from a slightly negative perspective with all of these questions.
Okay.
Question number one, everyone's desperate. So when the market tanks, and everyone's sort of trying their hardest to try and get some scraps, how do you go about showing up on LinkedIn without looking like another needy sod with their hands out trying to win business?
Okay, first response off the just straight off the bat on this would be, actually there's two layers to LinkedIn. The front public facing layer, which is posting content, that's top. But underneath that, there's LinkedIn private messaging. And so many people are afraid to do that piece. So my first response is, hey, if you don't want to look desperate publicly, you can still do that underneath layer, and you can send valuable, helpful tips, tricks, advice, white papers, reports to your ICP via private messages. So that would be my first thing that I would suggest on that. But secondly, I think don't do that thing where you retract and do less. I would actually say do more, but you need to do it in the right way. So you're not telling the world that you're desperate. Hey, of course you're not doing that. But actually share more helpful advice. Can you get yourself on video? Can you interview someone within your ICP that proves that proves your expertise? It's a real showcase of your knowledge. So there's different things that you can do, Matt. So in an economic downturn, I would suggest you need to turn up your frequency, but in the right way. But at the same time, you need to up your game on LinkedIn private messaging. So that's giving valuable advice and support via that avenue. It's sending voice notes. It's using a tool like Loom, and it's putting your face on the front of your ideal customer profile's website or business, talking about it, what you would do. I tell you something on this, right? Really impressed me. I'm going to give him a shout out. It's a guy called Callum Howard from Limitless Film and Media, and he did something really refreshing. He did something, and we might have an argument here. He did something for free for me. So he sent me a LinkedIn private message. He said, Chris, I've seen your podcast. Here's what I would do differently. I've done you a free edited video clip for you with a WeTransfer link. It was a gift. He sent me a gift. He literally sent me something gift wrapped on a LinkedIn private message. Said, there you go. No strings attached. Just have it. This is what we do. Have it. And I thought, wow.
That's interesting.
That's so refreshing.
Yeah, and so the point you're making about that might rankle me a little bit is because I have a real problem with people who give away free advice.
Yes.
So educate me on why that was a good move on his part.
Because he's so good at what he does, but he really wanted to get in the door faster. And he knew that if he'd landed me, it would open up so many more people. So I'm not suggesting, Matt, this is a strategy that you should do for everyone, but you can have a lost leader and you can say, I tell you what, if I can commit to a tiny bit of freeness for someone, we're going to have an argument now. I love it.
No, we're not.
We're not.
I'm
going to back me up?
Well, I am going to back you up. And it's pretty obvious when you think about it because, and by the way, listener, I haven't given Chris any of these quick-fire questions in advance. With some guests, we will have a bit of a green room session before. I literally turn up to Chris's, he put the kettle on and I hit record. That's what we agreed to do. So none of this has been pre-talked about. So he's coming at this cold. How can I endorse what? Callum, did you say?
Yeah, Callum from Limitless Film and Media.
Right. So, well, I think you've just done it. So the fact that he's managed to get himself on this podcast says all you need to say about a wider reach through the act that he gave you. Now, he didn't know that was going to happen.
Yes.
But that, I guess, is the byproduct that can sometimes happen if you're willing to give people stuff and not expect anything in return.
This is kind of linked to something that you speak about, Matt, within your buyer journey around surprise and delight as well, and going above and beyond. And during that point when you're on the ropes, which unfortunately lots of people will be over the next few months, if you find yourself on the ropes, choose someone or some people, maybe it's just a handful, to surprise and delight. So, for example, in my world of social media, I might, if times get tough, I'll get myself on Loom and I'm gonna do a video review, 5 minutes, no longer, of people's social platforms. I'm gonna say, hey Gary, look, just take this as free advice. I've just seen on your social media page that your profile isn't optimized for conversion. You don't have a cover banner. Your about section isn't filled out properly, which is a bit of your world, Matt, etc., right? I'll send that as a video and go, there you go. Just wanted to give you that. And off the back of that, I can guarantee you that at least Gary will respond and he'll say, thank you so much, Chris. This isn't something I need right now, but oh my God, Bob, my next door neighbour that runs a business, he really needs help with his social.
So are we comfortable then? Can we agree on this point that actually there is no such thing as giving free information, free advice? Actually, there is a bit of a hidden agenda there, which is the old adage, which used to be give and expect nothing in return, actually is bullshit. You're giving because there's you're giving because there's you're having a bit of a punt, but the objective is you get something back.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, I'm sure people that are in the positive psychology world will go, oh, well, I've had my needs met anyway because I just feel good about giving stuff. I'm kind of okay with that. In the world of sales, then there probably needs to be a justification for why you're giving away something for free.
Yes, with you. And also, I would be putting my chips on red, meaning I would be doing stuff for people with big networks of people within they need to be within your ideal customer profile. So if you're going to do something for someone, they're within your ideal customer profile and they've got, for conversation's sake, between 5 and 10,000 LinkedIn connections. Hey, it's probably worth choosing them over someone that's got 400, 500. Get it?
Got it. Right, let's go to the next one.
Sorry, that wasn't quick fire.
That's okay. I love it. Optimizing profiles. I get so dull. Such a dull conversation, but let's have it anyway. So most profiles are digital graveyards.
Yes.
Full of buzzwords.
Yes.
What is the trick, Chris, to help someone who lands on your profile to think, holy shit, this person plays at a different level, right? And you can't say banner. It's kind of a given that people need to have a banner.
Okay.
What 3 things could you come up with that would help someone immediately improve their profile so that it's optimized? So if someone says, holy shit, this is a player.
I know you've said I can't say banner, but your banner at the minute, to use a football analogy, is League One to Championship. You need to have your business tagline on there, or how you help people, right?
That's brutal.
You need to have that on there. Give them a contact option. It needs to be in there. You need how you help people in a short, succinct, 1-sentence wonder on there, right? That needs to be in there. Put some credibility on there if you've won an award. How many years have you been doing what you're doing? Put that in there as well. How many accounts or clients have you helped? Put that in there as well. That's a Premier League standard cover banner. Someone will look at that and go, holy shit, they're the market leader. I'm not even going to read the rest of their profile. I'm going to send them a message straight away, right? Just the next thing to move it down a notch as well is you can have a voice explainer of you can basically put in a voice note next to your name, which it was actually brought in by LinkedIn to help your prospects pronounce your name right. But what you can do through your profile settings, that's your elevator pitch. Hi, my name's Chris Reeve, and I specialise in purposeful social media content that creates impact. Message me if you're interested in some help. Boom, done. Put that in there. That's another thing you can do.
Is that open to everybody, or you've got to go premium?
No.
Everyone.
This always surprises people. So I am well within the field of social media. I don't have a premium profile. And I'm almost doing it out of stubbornness to prove a point, but I quite like the fight of it.
Yeah,
you really don't. You really don't. And the next thing on your LinkedIn profile is your headline. So that's not your name, but your headline is, people will say, Managing Director at Smith & Co. Ltd. Right? No one knows who Smith & Co. Ltd. are. No one is searching for the Managing Director. But if you change that to your area of specialism, you will get so many more organic searches. You will appear in so many more results. So I'll give you an example. I had EasyJet Holidays land in my inbox the other day. Hi Chris, we'd like you to pitch for our business. I thought, holy shit. And it was because I didn't have Managing Director of Reeve Social Media. I had Social Media Specialist.
Right, so here's my profile. Read it out. How does that sound?
De-risking sales growth for 5 million plus ARR B2B companies, found at Sales Cadence, two times book author, host of Sales Cadence podcast, sales mentor and trainer. Okay, it's great, it's amazing, and that you will appear in people's feeds. The only challenge is, Matt, is that when you post something, it's cut off within the post headline copy.
Right. It actually says, it says de-risking sales growth for plus 5 million annual recurring revenue B2B come.
Yeah. So that's a faux pas. So we need to change that. I would definitely say that people put too much text there as well. All right. A lot of that text, Matt, that you've got in your headline, and you can have that within your cover banner. Okay. So shift some of that information out of your headline, put it into your cover banner, and make sure that in your headline, which for people listening is underneath your name on LinkedIn, it needs to be short and succinct. And it needs to be searchable. What will someone search if they've got a challenge that you can help them solve? So for yours, Matt, they will definitely search sales mentor or sales trainer. You are going to pop up, but what I would suggest is that needs to be first rather than last.
Got it. Okay, good. Did we do 3 there?
Again, that wasn't a quick fire, was it? But hopefully it was actionable.
That's good enough. Number 3, let's kill some sacred cows.
Ooh.
What's one LinkedIn strategy that people cling on to like a life raft, but it actually drags them under?
Okay.
What's that one thing that you see, you think, oh, crikey, why are you doing that?
I would say...
probably not serving you well.
I would say they are wedded to the obsession of long-form written only posts, okay? So that is posts without imagery, that's posts without video, and they are so goddamn long. No one is reading a post that is that long. And there will be copywriters that might listen to this and they'll go, oh, well, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And hey, that's okay. If you want to live in la la land, that's fine. But I'll positively challenge them and I'll say, if you're on social media, and we are now in this world of every social channel has been TikTokified, okay? The TikTokification of social media. And there will be grumpy business people and, I don't want LinkedIn to be like that. Hey, it's just the reality now, guys. Like, this is what you need to serve social media up with, right? So I'm not telling you to go really small with barely any copy. I'm just saying don't be completely wedded to only massive, huge, great, big, long paragraph LinkedIn posts. Every now and then, to prove your knowledge, to share something. It might be a blog piece, for example, that you've repurposed. Hey, that's okay. Just don't have that as your only strategy.
Is there do you ever find with your clients that there's a kind of a challenge where obviously they're coming to you because they are not necessarily, they could be struggling, but they're looking for clarity, looking for strategy when it comes to how they improve their online presence. Do you sometimes find that they are a bit risk averse and so they find it difficult to do the risky stuff? Have you got an example, and you may not have one, have you got an example of a client who said that's too risky, that won't work, and actually it blew up? It actually went, I wouldn't say viral, but it really went, there you go.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'll tell you a nice example. Had a coaching client that was pretty much wedded to that long form LinkedIn post content, and I said, trust me on this. This needs to be a 30-second, 2-minute video with a headline, okay, a short 1-sentence wonder at the top of the post, okay, a question underneath that opens up that psychological knot for the scroller to see, and underneath that, point at the video and tell people to watch the video. And off the back of that, leads came in, comments went up, impressions and views increased. So that's an example off the bat.
Hook.
Question. Value.
Watch.
Yeah. All value. And that's a good, and look, I'd say Conrad Sanders that's been on this podcast is an absolute wizard at this. So I'd encourage people listen to his edition of the Sales Cadence podcast.
Few episodes.
Incredible. Yeah, he's got some really good, clever frameworks of which I've stolen. One of the ones that I've adapted is his filter system, and the filter that I apply to so many social posts now is attention, engage, which is question, and value. So to answer your quickfire piece there, that would be an example of someone that was just so afraid of doing something different, and as soon as they actually went, you know what, I need to stop pissing around in the paddling pool, and I need to dive in head first into the deep end. And they did it, and it worked. And critically, it converted. Because I'm not sitting here as the social media savvy guy going, oh, her views and impressions went up and da-da-da. No. She won business off the back of it.
Correct. So next one I'm going to ask you about is actually very close to my heart, because pretty much every post I put out is, I'm going to use the 2 words, thought leadership.
Okay.
Right? So I get behind, and I align myself with putting content out there which I believe to be very helpful to the people that I'm trying to serve. It's really all I do. Is there still a space for thought leadership in LinkedIn? Because if I go back 5 or maybe a few years longer than that, that's really the majority of what we saw, was people putting their wisdom and words out there.
Yeah.
It's not so much anymore. Is there still a place for it?
What are you seeing instead on your feed, Matt?
Content which doesn't necessarily make me think there's a real point to it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm not getting any sort of sound advice, but that's because it's me, and that's my filter is searching for what is helpful and advice to me. I see lots of great content,
but
I'm not necessarily sure why that serves a purpose.
And that is, and the reason why you're seeing more of that stuff compared to when LinkedIn first started was there's now this stage of this is the life cycle of any social platform, right? Everyone listening needs to learn how to repackage their thought leadership content, their social media content, their knowledge and wisdom. It's a point that we've just previously made in response to the last question, right? You unfortunately now you can't just share those long form blogs and hope they land. You need to play the game. It's video first. Oh, and by the way, LinkedIn rewards you for showing your face. Oh, and by the way, LinkedIn penalizes you as of this date right now that we're filming for having logos on your imagery because they want raw, authentic, mobile shot video content, right? So my response to that, Matt, is yeah, for sure, there's still a space for thought leadership, but it's how you package it up. And don't lose faith in the fact that you can't just place this on LinkedIn and say, oh, I've clearly been shadow banned, or, oh, it's just LinkedIn now, it's rubbish. No. Hold the mirror up. You need to learn how to repackage up your social content, your thought leadership content to be successful on that platform. If people just make that instant switch now from static content to video content, I can 100% guarantee everyone listening will improve their engagement, but that's not the important thing, will improve their opportunity of conversion via the platform in 2025.
Love that. Next one. God forbid it should ever happen, and let's hope it doesn't, but there's a high likelihood that it probably will, given the fact that we talked earlier about the economic climate and the potential for essentially a downturn. But let's just be serious for a minute and suggest there might be one or two people who might be searching for work. Mm-hmm. Or if we enter into the world of, my world and your world, which is, doing deals, let's say, for example, someone's now finding it really, really difficult because, where before organisations were keen to have conversations, now they're tightening their financial belt and that budget is no longer available. Someone has a bad quarter in sales, someone loses their job. How do you turn that loss into content? And content that's helpful for others. So rather than the pity story that again sometimes we do see, is there a better way of using that content to one's advantage?
Yeah, I like that. So just to clarify the question, Matt, you're saying someone in sales has lost their job and they're now in the market for a new one, and rather than a pity post, what can they do better with that? Yeah, to get them in front of. To get them in a position to get a new job, is that what you're saying? Yeah,
so exactly that.
Okay.
Can I use that to my advantage and try and find an opportunity, or if not looking for a new job, rather than sharing some information which is a disadvantage to me, the market's gone down. Yep. Is there any way it's worth posting that information in a more helpful way?
As long as you make it about your network and your audience as the main takeaway, the main point of the post, fine. A lot of people listening, Matt, they might have seen a post, I think it was a couple of years ago now, which was coined in the end by marketing people, the crying CEO.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, so CEO, for those of you who don't know, CEO posted a picture of himself having just cried or was crying, whichever way you want to interpret it, talking about the fact that he's just had to make people redundant, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Me, right? And that is dreadful. Do not do that, because then you're just going to get a backlash. But I think the way that you started this point, Matt, and you framed this question is, you spoke about, I think you used the word pity post. I want to positively challenge that. I want to be careful that doesn't make people think, oh, I don't want to do that. And I would just shift the language a bit to, it is important, if your back's against the wall, you're on the deck, or you're up against the ropes, or you're on the canvas, it's important to turn up the vulnerability. And if you can find the strength to post something vulnerable on social media, you will find so many people out there, they really want to help. There's actually a lot of, as much as the world that we're living in today is all doom and gloom, if I post on LinkedIn today, I'm finding it really difficult at the moment, I'll be honest, I'm finding things really difficult out there. Does anyone know of anyone in their network that's a managing director that need some help converting customers via social media, I could honestly guarantee you 3 or 4 people will respond saying, "Oh, Chris, it's not for me actually, but I'm going to message you because I think I know someone in my..." Yeah, right. So that sort of thing. So the first thing is just make that commitment to do a vulnerable post. It's okay to do that. Secondly, just to back up the why here, LinkedIn, you have to remember the roots of LinkedIn and the reason why LinkedIn started. It was a professional network to find your career, to find your job. Okay.
Yep.
So LinkedIn rewards you for posting this type of content. If you have lost your job, tell people you've lost your job. I did it. When I was made redundant before I started my business, I did a video saying, "Hi, my name's Chris Reeve. I've been made redundant at the start of the pandemic. This is my field of area of expertise. This is how I can help you." Then posted it. It was one of my top performing posts. I've only just removed it from my feature section on LinkedIn. So I think my overall advice is don't be afraid to do it. Just don't make it me, my, I, me. Make it, this is what's happened to me, or this is where I'm currently at. How would you like help, and who can you help? And make it about your audience, not just about you. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense, and I love all of that.
No doubt your sales team's busy, but if targets are still slipping, then you've got a problem. See, it's not the deals that you lose, it's the ones that should have closed but never stood a chance. They're the ones that kill you. Calibrate is a straight-talking audit of your sales process, cradle to grave. It exposes the friction, the poor execution, and the hidden gaps that drain your revenue. Then it hands you a clear, actionable plan to fix it. You've got latent potential in your sales team. Calibrate will help you find it. Details in the show notes.
Next one. You'll like this. This is your world. So let's agree that this is somebody who is, well, let's use me as the example. Someone who uses LinkedIn as part of their lead generation process. You don't have a plan or a strategy. You're just posting randomly. You just kind of naturally evolve. When something works, I'm one of those people that goes, "Hey, that's an interesting. I'll do that one this morning."
Cool.
Right? But don't necessarily have a strategic plan. Is that okay? First question. To operate in a marketplace where, if LinkedIn is part of your lead generation process, that you have that kind of ad hoc, sporadic approach rather than having some kind of content strategy. Is that okay? And if not, what advice would you give? And then the second part of that question is, if you are going to give advice, is there such thing as a different content strategy for a downturn?
So that's a meaty question. I can't quick fire that, Matt, blimey.
Let's do the first one first. Sporadic versus strategic.
Yeah, and I would actually, the way I would translate that is proactive content or reactive content. And I'd say 80 to 90% of people on LinkedIn are still doing reactive only content. If you are a high performing salesperson, what do you not have a lot of, Matt?
Time.
Correct. And you need to consistently fill up the top of your funnel, and you need consistent touch points, brand awareness on your LinkedIn personal profile. It's so important, right? So you can't rely on you just having this random moment of inspiration on the tube on the way into the office. Oh, and then, by the way, when you get to the office, you've got to write the content, or you're going to put it in ChatGPT and you're going to just copy it and paste it, which is an absolute crime against content, which I won't even go into today, but that's a takeaway for people. So my advice is to allow yourself to do both. So I'm still saying you can still do those reactive posts where you've had that spark of inspiration, you've got the buzz of getting something on LinkedIn about it. You know, it might be, you know, a piece of trending news and it's your reaction to it, etc. That's fine. But my advice is, and this is for everyone across the board, you must have some non-time sensitive, evergreen, hygiene, they call it in marketing, content that goes out consistently at least once per week. So if you are on holiday, you're on the beach in, I don't know, Lanzarote, or, you know, you're in LA living the dream, you've still got your marketing machine still happening. You're having such a busy week, Matt, full of sales, prospecting calls, discovery calls, etc. You're at networking events, yeah? But you know that at the top of your funnel, your LinkedIn account keeps tapping out the evergreen, non-time sensitive video content. And for people that are like, well, what could that be? It's a half day. It's either with a videographer or, hey, by the way, just use your bloody mobile phone and stop making excuses, and answer frequently asked questions on video and schedule that content to go out on your LinkedIn once a week. And I can guarantee you again that will produce more results for you without a shadow of a doubt.
So a more consistent approach is going to pay back.
100%. You can't rely on you having the time and also the inspiration and also being good at creating like that takes time. So make sure, regardless of what's going on in your world, you've got that consistent, non-time sensitive video content going out once per week at least on your LinkedIn account.
Is there any truth in the advice that actually during an economic downturn you should be more visible?
100%.
And that's
definitely because people will forget. People forget about people really. This has been a bit. This is the truth. Everyone's quite forgettable.
Correct.
And if you're not consistently grabbing attention and reminding people of how good you are and how amazing your product and service is in terms of how it solves your ICP's problem, then they will forget about you and they will go to your competitor who's turning up on LinkedIn consistently.
Yeah, because what's really interesting is even though, it could be a challenging time at the moment, people are still on LinkedIn every day. It's just because they cut their budget on training or they've made somebody redundant doesn't mean to say that they're also going to cut the amount of time they spend on social.
Absolutely.
That's going to carry on, right?
So then I think that's my response to the second end of your alleged quickfire question. Is in times like this, don't make the mistake of retracting and doing less and overthinking. I use this phrase all the time, Matt. Execution over perfection. And I want salespeople listening to this podcast now to remember that when they're posting content on LinkedIn. Don't overthink it. If you're spending more than 15 to 20 minutes on a post, what are you doing? What are you doing? You need to be selling more products and services, not spending all your time on social media. Create the content, get it out the door. You know it's helpful, get it out the door, and then the cycle continues.
What's the phrase that I often hear? It's document over create, is that right?
Yeah, documenting over creating is another one. That's a Gary Vaynerchuk one, yeah, which I'm a big Gary V fan.
And that's around putting something together that says, I'm at Chris's house today, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, that's another good mindset.
3 key takeaways that we got.
That's another good mindset to have. So execution over perfection is one, getting stuff out the door. The other thing is, if you've got writer's block, content block, whatever you want to call it, just think about, as you're going about your everyday role, responsibilities within your organisation, or as the leader of your organisation, document what you're doing. And it might just be a classic case of, if you've been at a networking event, we've all seen those posts. Today I listened to about XYZ, blah, 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 and I had a great conversation with Derek. That's okay. Document. Just don't do nothing. Just please don't do nothing. That's my hard advice for people.
Last one, because we've run out of time.
Come on.
What's the one lie that people keep telling themselves, those smart people keep telling themselves, that keeps them from showing up on LinkedIn and being more available? If you had the opportunity to get in front of these people and say to them, there's something going on behind the scenes and they're stopping you from doing this, what's the first thing you would say to them? Say, look, whatever it is, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm not here to fix that for you, but you're a smart person, you've got loads to offer. The one thing I want you to do next is this. What is that one thing that you would tell them to go and do straight after this podcast?
Maybe an unexpected response. I believe that most people are probably not, to use that word, psychology. I think a lot of people could do with some work on their self-psychology before they put themselves out there on social media. I think people hide behind the technology. So they'll say things like, oh, I don't have the right video filming equipment, audio, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. They hide behind all these excuses. The truth is, for example, they just don't have the confidence to be on camera. They need to develop their presenting skills, right? Their communication skills, specifically on camera. So I think the biggest lie that people tell themselves is They can't do LinkedIn content because they don't know how to write content. They can't do LinkedIn content because they don't have a video camera. They can't do LinkedIn content because the sales manager doesn't allow them to do it, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. No, here's the truth. You're not confident enough or knowledgeable enough in your product and service to get yourself out there and help people serve, not sell on LinkedIn. If you know deep down in your gut and your heart that what you do, what you sell helps people, there's no bloody excuse. Post on LinkedIn right now. Please, if you're listening to this right now, seriously right now, type it up as I'm talking. Just listen to the Sales Cadence podcast. I've been dilly-dallying for too long. Here's how I can help you.
Yeah,
are you ready? Drop me a message.
Maybe just do
Come on, let's get more American.
Just get more American. Actually, that's not a bad idea to end the podcast. If this has resonated with you, and there's been a huge value dump from Mr. Reeve as usual.
Value dump.
That
value dump.
What is value, by the way? That giving value. I always struggle with that. What is that? Let's not go there.
It's a broad brush.
That's an episode in its own right. But I guess that off that stellar piece of advice at the end. If there is somebody who's listened to this and they thought, I'm going to take that medicine and I'm going to think of the one thing that I've heard on here that has made the most relevance to my world, even if I think it's something that I don't agree with and I'm going to counter it, just go and post about it. And I think see what happens. And I think that would be a really nice endorsement, I guess, of the time that we spent together if that kind of happened. Now, we started this podcast with the world of ChatGPT writing the intro. I've asked it to write an outro.
Come on.
Here's the outro from ChatGPT. If you're still allergic to self-promotion, LinkedIn will bury you. Simple as that. This isn't about selling. It's not about recruiters. It's not even about credibility. It's about narrative domination.
Oof.
Becoming the name people associate with a space.
Yeah.
Even if you have to crank up the ego to 11 to get there. The people winning right now aren't the smartest, most ethical, or even the most capable. They're just the ones bold enough to treat LinkedIn like a personal billboard, not a resume wall. So ask yourself, are you posting for validation? Or are you building a myth? Share this episode with someone who's too talented to keep hiding, or don't. Just don't come crying when someone dumber with a better story takes your place. See you next time.
Do you know what? Some of that I hated, but actually, a lot of that I really quite liked. Actually,
I think what that does, folks, as we end this podcast, Chris, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure,
your time,
mate.
and hosting us in your beautiful house. I think what that really does for us both, I would guess, is quite a lot of the advice you hear around ChatGPT is all it does for you is the heavy lifting. It gets you started,
Well
and
done.
I think there's 75% of that stuff you can work with, right?
Correct.
And so what it means is there's 25% missing, and the bit that's missing effectively is that human touch, right?
Preach. So with you. ChatGPT, you will get out of it what you are willing to put in, and the future of the work. I mean, this is a whole podcast in itself, Matt, but prompt engineering is something that people can really tap into. Can I just conclude from my side, Matt? Thanks so much for letting me on your podcast again. I'm delighted to have got the hat-trick ball, and I am so grateful that you have been so selfless with your time to produce this podcast to genuinely help people. Your sales training is the reason why I'm sitting in this house today, so thank you, mate.
You're most welcome. And folks, thank you very much indeed for listening. It's been another one of those wonderful episodes. Hope it's been of use to you. Hope your world's going well. Don't worry about what's going on out in the marketplace. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.